Sup everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we have another CN meta video update. And as you guys will quickly see at the very top, I know you guys always gravitate, okay, who are people using at AC? Such an anomaly of a character at this point in time. It's been a while since we've seen a character crest past 92% usage rate. I mean, 90% I guess is a better benchmark for such an important milestone, I guess. Another character that used to sit comfortably above, and yes, I mean comfortably above 90%, was Venti. Now, back then, I think comparative to someone like Nahida reaching it is not as impressive because we had limited characters. There just weren't as many good characters to use back then, and the meta wasn't as developed as it is now. But seeing someone like Nahida sitting at 92.7%, you know EroticWalruss is not going to like that very much. Usually they want the best of the best characters sitting just above 70%, maybe 80%, but 90% is a bit much. And if they consecutively hold a spot in like 90%, usually it means something is going to happen, something drastic is going to be coming to bump these characters down a little bit. It was the case with Zhongli. I don't believe Zhongli ever consistently hit above 90%, but he was sitting comfortably above 80%. And then came the Wolves and Corrosion, which every now and then you'll see them re-enter the abyss, and when they do, Zhongli usually does see a slight drop in usage rate. But right now, there's really nothing EroticWalruss has done for Nahida. As you guys can see, someone like Raiden Shogun is slowly kind of teetering off. She used to be in the comfortable 80s. Now she's kind of getting closer to that 70s mark. And I do anticipate once we roll into Fontaine that we will likely see Raiden Shogun, much like Zhongli, roll down into S tier in the CN meta around 60-something%. It's just a natural way of progression. And even though there's no hard power creep in this game, as the game develops, certain ways of playing the game, it's just going to get siphoned out, right? So as you guys look at this page, you take a look at the placements. Some of the top characters really hasn't changed too much, with exception to movements such as Nilou being pushed up to S+ tier. Incredible support unit here, enabling Super Bloom in your teams, which is just it's a godsend for free-to-play low spenders. And I do believe that if you're strictly looking for primo to value, I think Nilou is still one of the best out there. Now, before we go further, here's a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by U7Buy. Use the link in the description below to come and get a slight discount off of your primo gem purchases, as well as the Welcome Moon. Thank you for always supporting the channel content. And now let's get back to the video. Welcome back. So now let's take a look at the S tier. We got Baizhu with 67.5%. Now this is very interesting. At the same time, I think some of you guys are going to be scratching your heads a little bit. Although yeah, I think it does make sense though that Baizhu is sitting so high up. It was his banner, and there's going to be certain incentives to playing this character, right? So I don't think that it's out of character for a new character to be sitting in S tier, but I do think that he's sitting quite a bit above where I thought he was going to. I originally thought maybe he was going to be at 40-something%, 50%, but sitting at 67.5%, that is certainly much higher. But it's anticipated that he's going to be a little fluffed out when he first comes out, so we'll see in the months coming. Maybe he'll drop down to maybe A tier. I think that's where he'll comfortably sit for the vast majority of his existence within Genshin Impact. But nothing too surprising here. Pretty much no DPS focused character here, with exception to Yelan, which is support DPS. And I guess some people would even categorize Nilou as a DPS enabler, right? Because what she basically does is enable Super Bloom, which is a DPS mechanic, right? That's what she does, but she herself isn't the one dealing the damage. Xingqiu is also a support DPS. And then the first one we see is Alhaitham, really. So by category, I think the only S tier DPS by CN metric is Alhaitham, and I think it's going to stay this way for a little while just because of how broken Dendro still is, but I think it's fine. All right, everybody takes their turn. Hu Tao had her turn, Ayaka had her turn, Tartaglia had his turn. We don't talk about the B tier characters. I'm sure they all have their turns in your hearts, but when it comes to CN meta, all these top DPSs has had their turn, and I think just right now it's just Alhaitham's turn. Now a big change. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Kazuha 59.7%, and it will tell you exactly how many people's data points there are in this. It's roughly around 80,000. Okay, so out of 80,000 people, like around 60% use Kazuha. This is very uncharacteristic of such a character, right? And I don't believe it's because that he's not a good character anymore, or this is a sign of him tapering off. I just think that current iterations of the Abyss maybe doesn't bode too well for Kazuha. Now I say it doesn't bode too well, and he's sitting at 60% user rate, but usually he's sitting comfortably in the 70% plus, right? Even 80% very consistently. This is one of the few times I have seen him drop down so low, but it's really because of how the Abyss is currently structured. So as you guys see in the very top, if you're not adding damage, you're basically going to be shaved off a tier a little bit here. And while Kazuha does provide great debuffs, I think there are just certain better teams right now that can ooze out more explosive damage, which allows you to clear content faster. So this is certainly interesting to see. We'll keep an eye on Kazuha maybe in the coming weeks, and I'll update you guys if he kind of makes a climb back into S+. But I think for the time being, it makes sense that he's going to sit down here just due to how the Abyss mobs are structured right now. With A tier, we have Yaimiko, Ayato, Hu Tao, and then of course we got all the other familiar faces here. And then B tier, we have, you know, Sino making a good climb up. I think with the release of Baiju, there's a lot of Sino mains that are really trying to push his limits here in the Abyss, and I'm sure they're finding decent to great results. Now, some of the older characters here, you see Albedo, Yoimiya, we also have Ganyu, right, sitting kind of lower in usage rate. It's not that they're bad, it's just CN doesn't prioritize them when it comes to fast and efficient clears. All right. So with that said, let's take a look at the C tier characters. What did I say a couple months ago is that Dia was going to eventually drop down another 2%, which essentially she has. And down here, you'll find some of the characters that are just much more difficult to make work, right? You can pause the video, take a look, and we'll move on. So right here, this data metric is very important because I think a 94.7% ownage rate of Nahida, which equates to 79,218 people who actually owns this character out of the 80,000 something. I believe it was like 83,000 here. 83,639, that's 100%. So yeah, very high ownage rate of this character and incredibly high usage rate. You know a character is valuable when a bunch of people have them and a bunch of people are using them. That's top meta material. Now, of course, Yelan is sitting very comfortably up here as well because she's one of the characters that can provide you a ton of DPS even when she's not on field, and when she's on field, she doesn't take up much time. She provides great particle generation as well as really good damage through her elemental skills. So really a no-brainer right now in this iteration of the Abyss. Raiden Shogun, also no-brainer, very strong, pumps out a ton of damage and also hypercharges your team, making them recycle their bursts very fast, giving people much better uptime. Nilou also enables Super Bloom, is one of the cheapest ways to get really good damage. So for people who are struggling with the DPS checks of current Abyss, a character like Nilou is going to allow you to kind of bump yourself far beyond what you're really capable of in terms of damage, simply because of her Super Bloom mechanic. And Bennett just makes everybody stronger, and with Raiden Shogun up here, Bennett will never be too far behind because these two kind of go hand in hand nowadays, right? They support each other extremely well. But yeah, again, pause the video, take a screenshot as you guys see what are the characters that are being here. But basically, this is just a more detailed data showing you guys the rates and how many people specifically owns the character and how many times they've appeared on the field here, right? It's basically a more detailed version of whatever I showed you guys before. Anyways, moving on, this is where we can see the change in usage rates, right? So which character has had a big movement? So we're gonna be focusing on the top changes here. So Kuki Shinobu has been bumped up once again 6.5%, but the biggest winner here is Nilou. I think it really highlights when Nilou gets bumped up so much is how desperate a lot of people are for that damage boost in their team, right? The DPS check is unreal with current iterations of the Abyss, and Nilou is going to be one of the few weapons that people have on them that can get quick results without having to farm for months and months of artifacts and upgrading characters and stuff and whatnot, or building new ones from level 1 or level 20 all the way up to level 90. Nilou is a great character in this regard, and it's not surprising that during times of need and great DPS walls that she is going to surge up and provide great damage output for a lot of players. Now Nahida here sitting in third with a 5.7. I can imagine being 87% and earning another 5.7%. That is absolutely crazy. I don't think she's really going to get much higher from this. I believe the highest I've ever seen Venti was like 95.8. But again, that was way far back when there were no other options and he was just utterly broken. But seeing a character hitting 92.7%, is absolutely wild. Xingqiu's coming back up, Ayato's moving up, and of course our boy Alhaitham is moving up. But yeah, take a screenshot again. This is what's been happening in CN. Finally, I'm going to be sharing the most important screen, and that's the teams, right? I think a lot of the people watching like, okay, Walrus, that's cool and all, but really, what are people using to clear? What are people relying on nowadays to really crush through the content? And here it is. 96% basically of the people who participated in this database, 96% of them use a Raiden National with the Yelan variant, because I think if you use Xingqiu variant, you're just not going to have enough damage. Most of them used this team in the first half. This is the most used team in the first half. I think that is nothing too surprising. These characters, I wouldn't say it's going to be rare for people to have. However, if you don't have Yelan and you have Xingqiu here, you may find that you're not going to be shredding enough time down to be getting that 3-star clear. But regardless, the second team here is actually wild, right? Like having the MC in here is just once again showcasing, you know, the Genshin Impact is quite a free-to-play game, right? Having Nahida with the Dendro MC, with Kokomi, and then of course we have Nilu here crushing it through the second half of the Abyss. And of course, if you don't want to use a Dendro MC, you want to flex on them with your new Baiju, feel free to bring that into the Abyss as well. Really great option here to replace the Dendro MC. Now a lot of people will be like, wait, Walrus, but wouldn't this be a double healer team? Then you'd be right. You know, it's actually extremely rare that I see double healer teams, and one with such high usage rate and such great efficiency. However, the number of times that this team has appeared in the Abyss is actually very, very small. It's only a 3% appearance rate. Now, why is the usage rate very high? It's because out of the number of people who participated in this data study, only 9.3% of them had all 4 of these characters, meaning that very little people owned this, yet out of the people who own this, a pretty sizable number of them actually use this. So it's not really the problem that, well, you know, very little people use it. It's the fact that very little people own this team to begin with. It's actually a proven team, pretty good. However, I wouldn't really expect to see a team like this consistently going forward. I think that this may be a one-time thing, but who the hell am I to be giving general meta advices? I'm just here to show you guys the data. Okay, and of course we have Ayaka Breeze team with Kazuha in second half. Obviously, this is another really great team, solid, very consistent, moving into number 5. Tartaglia International. Wow, this team, I can't believe to this day it's still standing strong. Very impressive. Now Alhaitham team down here, Hu Tao team here, nothing too surprising now. And actually the Hu Tao team and the Alhaitham team seems to be the most flexible in terms of first half, second half. So it really depends on how you want to flex these teams to find the best success in the Abyss. Don't just blindly copy it like, oh, I'm just gonna slap this in first half and just try to work my way through it. If it's better suited for the second half, you can do that as well. Same for the Alhaitham team, right? So this is pretty much all the data for this Abyss iteration. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think it's actually very interesting every time we see how these kind of really top tier meta players in the CN server are combating the issues that whole universe are thrown at them, right? Always curious to see what people have in store for us. Now with this, I'm going to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Till then, Erjota, stay safe. Peace. Bye bye.